Well, feels great to be one of the first speakers of the day. I don't have to keep you awake, and you're still not looking forward to tea break yet, I hope. Okay. So my name is Darren. So a bit about myself before I begin. So I have spent the last 10 years or so of my slavery life in Topan career as a solution architect on the ground, delivering digital solutions for the government and citizens of Singapore. So more recently, since last year, I moved on to a more upfront role where I tap on my experiences on the ground to actually look into new products and technologies to help us deliver a better or a more modernized digital government solution for all of you. So today, I'm very proud to share with you the latest innovation that we have in terms of an Agile stack that we think that you need to deliver your digital government solutions in a better, more effective, and hopefully cheaper way. So before I begin, let's agree on what is a modern digital government app. So if your house is actually, if your digital government app is a house, does it look like a modern house? Or is this a house that you want to live in? So personally, I prefer not. Why? Because firstly, it doesn't have a good look and feel. And I don't think it has a good user experience. I can't even see where the front door is, even though this looks like the front of the house. And there's no security. The windows are not patched. Even those windows that are complete, looks like it's a put-on security. You see? So it doesn't look like it's built with security in mind. And when the wind blows, I don't know whether it will crash. So what actually defines a modern digital government app? So today I have outlined 5 points that I think a digital government app should have. So firstly, it must deliver business agility. Using Agile development methodology where you iteratively build your system, you achieve a faster time to market and hopefully with a better user experience. So no longer are we talking about a traditional waterfall development where you spend 3 months gathering all the requirements up front and design your system, and then you don't see the developers for the next 6 months, where they will actually go back to their office and develop the app. And maybe at the end of 9 months, then you start seeing the app when you come and do UAT. So that, and hopefully it, it looks like what you have envisioned. So no longer are we looking at this kind of a long cycle. So with Agile development, where you iteratively build your system through sprints, 2 to 3 week sprints, you're going to see your system. Every spring, you're going to see how the feature is going to look like. And maybe at the end of like 3 months, you can launch your MVP. So we are looking at this kind of short cycle. So it allows for early course correction and faster reaction to policy changes. So next point is about Gen AI. So this is 2024, and I don't think I can talk about a modern digital government app without talking about Gen AI. You guys will throw eggs at me. Yeah, so a modern digital government app should incorporate some kind of a Gen AI augmentation, whether it's for public facing use cases or even for your internal productivity. So some of the common use cases like knowledge retrieval, some content summarization, help you achieve more productivity, content creation and all this. So at the end of the day, it goes towards helping you to improve your service delivery and ensure a better customer experience overall, directly or indirectly. So next point is about living in the cloud, modern cloud architecture. Not just hosted in the cloud, but to be cloud native, microservices containerization, and be able to scale and be resilient with the cloud. So we are talking about cloud native, and there's no if and buts about this, because just last week I heard that from GovTech that 79% or close to 80% of the government systems are actually already in the cloud, in GCC. Yeah. So this one, you all have to agree with me. Compliances and security is a must because we are talking about a digital government app. So if you don't comply with IM8 or the latest cloud security policy, you can't even launch a system. And some of these SGTS integration are actually mandated by GovTech. So you cannot run away for that either. And your security has to be based on zero trust principle. So zero trust principle means that you don't just lock the front gate or the front door of your house. Once you get into the house, you find that all the doors, all the cabinets, all the drawers are also locked. Even the toilet is locked. So if you are very, very urgent, you tell the house owner you want to go to the toilet, you have to pass the access control. And you have to pass the authentication authorization before you can even use the toilet. Yeah, so that is how stringent it's going to be. So last point is about day 2 agility. So the life of a system actually doesn't end at the end of development, but it's actually when you launch a system, it's the first day to the life of the system, and you're going to use it for the next 5 years or even more. So if you don't build in day 2 agility, you're going to have a hard time. So it's about incorporating desktop practices through CI/CD to automate your build and deployment, testing and deployment, so that your releases are actually less painful, more efficient, less painful. And you have to incorporate monitoring and observability so that you can detect problems and resolve them faster. So there's a distinction between monitoring and observability, which later Wei Yang is going to share more about this, so I will not delve too much. So it helps you achieve performance in your system over time, and it helps you to do preemptive or preventive maintenance, such that you can actually preempt problems before they occur or before somebody report the problem to you. So we are looking at that kind of day 2 agility. Okay, so introducing you to our latest innovation. It's called Kaizen. So we have chosen this name not just because of our Japanese roots, but also because it carries a special meaning to us. So Kaizen actually means continuous improvement, or constantly changing for the better. So it symbolizes what we want to do with, to help you achieve with your digital government solutions. And best of all, Kaizen has AI in its name. So by choosing the name Kaizen, we actually have AI built in literally. It's just a joke. Okay. So Kaizen is actually what we think is the Agile stack to deliver your digital government apps. So it has an end-to-end, a set of features and components that serve you from the end-to-end life cycle of the system, all the way from design, development, and all the way to operation. So for example, it has an app designer that helps you create your front-end UI design quickly through drag and drop. And it has a workflow designer to actually model or create your business processes, your back-end processes like approval and all this. And the process automation engine to actually execute and track your business processes, your workflows. It has an IAM to actually ensure your zero trust security. And then Gen AI integration is also built into the platform. And it has built-in observability and monitoring tools for you to operationalize your system. So more is going to be shared about that later. And things like, of course, the regular things that you need, the scheduler to run your batch jobs, and the reporting tool to help you visualize your data. So let me share some of the key highlights of or design principles of Kaizen. Firstly, it's built for agility. So using Kaizen to create your apps is going to be based on more configuration, a lot less coding. So you use drag and drop to actually create your UI, and then you configure them through properties and all that. So you only do coding only when there's a custom logic that is not possible to configure easily. And as you see earlier, there's no two transition across the different stages, because this Kaizen is going to take you from the start to the end. It has all the features, capabilities that you need to develop and operationalize your system. And it's going to change the way you collaborate with us, the developers. So your user is going to also use Kaizen to collaborate during the design stage of the system. As a result, it aims to achieve a shorter development cycle. It's going to make Agile more agile. And of course, it has Gen AI integration capabilities. So next principle is about cloud native. So we are built for cloud native. So it allows you to continuous delivery to the cloud through CI/CD integration, whether it's using your ship heads or the tool chain of your choice. And it's cloud native. It exploits all the cloud native services in AWS or any other clouds. And it also integrates to your SGTS. So it's going to be scaled elastically and resilient in the cloud. Built-in observability, I'll cover that. And AI Ops. So AI Ops is about having the monitoring system, learning the pattern of your application, the usage pattern. For example, the CPU always spike at a certain time, and then alerting you based on anomalies rather than a fixed threshold. Yeah. So the last point I'm going to share about the design principle is the continuous compliance. So as a company that has been with the government for the last 25 years or so, we understood what it means to be compliant. And we are committed to build a platform or a product that is going to be compliant with your changing policies. Because IM8 is actually a live document. Of course, IM8 itself is also undergoing reform at this point, and we understood that. But having this commitment will give you the assurance that we don't leave you. For example, if your IM8 has a new requirement, we will not say that we will not say that we won't incorporate it or something. So we will not leave you in the lurch. So this level of commitment, I don't think any other product company is able to provide, because most of other products, your product principle is not even in Singapore, maybe somewhere in the Western country. Yeah, so Kaizen is designed in Singapore and built for the Singapore government to be compliant. Okay, so Kaizen has a lot of features and capabilities, but today I'm just going to share some of the key ones. So a lot of bubbles here, so I'll just focus on each group of bubble at a time. So this set of features is about helping you to streamline your Agile development process. So through a app designer that has drag and drop capabilities, and you can collaboratively work on the design with the developers. And at the end of it, it's going to do code generation. And there's no lock-in because it's going to generate very standard React UI code. So let me bring you through in the typical Agile development cycle. So in the typical sprint, 2 or 3 week sprint, usually at the start, what's going to happen is that the Scrum team will actually choose some user stories or some features that the product owner prioritize. First thing we're going to do, start with the UI prototyping, because the UI is only the only thing that the user will probably understand, because that's how they're going to finally interface with the system. So at the start of it, in the traditional approach, you will use a drawing tool like some UI prototyping tool. The favorite nowadays is Figma. So you use it to create a series of screen designs, and you're going to show it to the user to confirm the UI design. But however, whatever tool that you use, you're going to find that the design is actually pretty much very static. And the user have to look through the visual design and imagine how it's going to work in the actual system. There's some interactivity, but it's very limited. And after typically you circulate through email and to gather all the comments and all this. And sometimes things like comments can be lost also. So after the user has confirmed the UI design, before it gets handed over to the developer, somebody has to actually break down the design into components. For example, the UI elements and some of the things like CSS and images has to be broken down into design assets. And then you pass to the developer, who will then try to assemble them in code. So you can see there's a disjoint in this process from design to development. So a lot of time when the developer, have a hard time taking the UI assets and then writing code to assemble them into something that looks like the design that you have confirmed. So a lot of times there's going to be discrepancies. And sometimes your comments are not even incorporated because they are actually lost somewhere in the email and all that. So using Kaizen, we're going to change our approach. So Kaizen allows you to create something what we call a high fidelity interactive prototype. Using drag and drop, like a drawing tool, like similar to what you can do with Figma and all that. You can actually draw the screens, put in the form, the elements, images, tables, and all these charts. And not only that, you can actually mock data for visualization. So a table or chart with some data will look more realistic instead of an empty table. And I give you an empty chart, you cannot imagine how it's going to look like. And you can also incorporate some of the navigation and features, interactive feature. For example, click a button, it goes to the next page, as if it's a submission confirmation page or something. And then you can have all the navigation features. So it's going to behave like a working system. And you can even put in some front-end validation to make it look more realistic. If you key in an email field, you key in something else, then it's going to prompt you some error. So all this can be easily built in Kaizen. And lastly, your users is going to collaborate directly using Kaizen platform. They can look at what the designers have come up with. They can play around, click around with it. And they can give comment and feedback about it directly on the platform. Everything is centrally tracked, while the developers are working on the changes. So this is what Kaizen can do. And after all this are done, and you're happy with the design, and you confirm the design, when you pass to the developer, Kaizen actually helps to generate into code. And it's based on the standard React UI code. So there's no login whatsoever. You can use a code, even if you decide not to continue the Kaizen later, you can use a code, and it's a standard React UI code. You can maintain it, check into a Git and all that. And as a result, your developers actually can spend more time creating the back-end business logic and doing more testing instead of tweaking the UI. As a developer myself, in many years back, I find that UI is always the most time-consuming because you're going to spend a lot of time tweaking all these things. So in Kaizen, this is not necessary. And the conversion is such that whatever you have seen in the prototype is going to behave the same way. It looks exactly the same. So I move on to the next set of capabilities. So this is about workflow designer and Gen AI integration. So in Kaizen, we have a workflow designer to actually use visual drag and drop to create your standard BPMN 2.0 workflow that you can pretty much use any BPMN compliant workflow engine to automate it. So I'm not going to delve into detail, but this is what you're going to see later in the demo, the exact flow. And Kaizen allows you to integrate Gen AI into your workflow. So actually, some of the tasks that you see here actually is a Gen AI task. So by dragging a Gen AI task into the workflow, you pretty much it will actually integrate with the Gen AI, the LLM model of your choice. And you just need to focus on the prompt engineering and maybe do some prompt chaining and all this. So the output of one Gen AI can actually flow into the next Gen AI task. So all these are possible. And your prompting can also incorporate some variables where you take something from the user input, or you can extract some data from a database into the prompt, all this. So later in demo, you're going to see more of this. Okay, so this is about your page performance analysis and your SGTS integration to be compliant with your GovTech requirement. So typically, a government system has to onboard to WOGA. You're familiar with this. So WOGA inspect actually, but then the problem is that WOGA is only available when your system go live because it's only on the internet. So what you don't want is actually after you roll out a system and then you onboard to the WOGA inspect and you realize that there's a lot of issues. So in Kaizen, we actually integrate the Google Lighthouse, which is what WOGA inspect is also using, into the development tool so that you can actually do your page scan and all this at design and development time. Instead of waiting until your system go live, then you start getting surprises and all this. So you literally shift left your so-called page analysis. And of course, it integrates with most of the SG Tech services, some of which are mandated. Your SingPass, CopPass, and ShipHeads and all this. Yeah. So the last set of capability I'm going to share is about observability and monitoring. So there are two aspects of observability. First is actually your business level observability, where you want to be able to track and monitor all your business workflows, how many of them are executing and which step they are now. Are there any errors and all this? So Kaizen provide this business observability in terms of your example is tracking your workflow and all this. The other aspect of observability is your system level observability. So this one is going to give you a deep insights into your internals of your system. So monitoring is actually just monitoring the surface. It's like measuring your temperature and all this. So observability is about going deeper. You probe deeper in your system. It's like having little X-ray machines implanted in your system. So when the problem occurs, you actually, the surface symptoms tells you there's a problem, but you then look into the detail in terms of zoom in the right X-ray to find what's wrong with to diagnose the root cause. Yeah, so this is my last slide already. So in terms of to summarize how we actually help you. So Kaizen help you achieve a more accelerated agile development, as you can see. So you streamline actually your design and collaboration with the users, and you shortcut it so that you generate code to shortcut it, so that the developers can actually focus on the right thing that they're supposed to build. So it's enhancing the collaboration between your users and the vendors and the developers. And as a result, it gives you a more predictable outcome. It's not like the traditional way where you get a lot of surprises when you give requirement. By the time you see the system already built, there's typically a very big gap in terms of what you expect and what the developers have delivered to you. So it's going to give you a more predictable outcome. And it's about seamless. It helps you achieve seamless cloud adoption because we built Kaizen with cloud native in mind, not as an afterthought. And I've covered this, so it gives you maximum compliance because we are the one who knows how to enroll the government for the last 20 over years. We know what it means to be compliant, and we are the one who actually help you to be compliant with your IM8 and all this. So at the end of the day, we hope to help you achieve a better customer satisfaction. Yeah. So, questions? Do I still have time? Where do I assess the question? Oh, actually, I saw one. Yeah, so the question is, I just read the question, and is Kaizen a proprietary software? Why is there, isn't Kaizen a proprietary software? Why is there no lock-in? So there's actually two parts of Kaizen. So one part of Kaizen actually helps you during the creation phase of your application, in terms of the design tools and all that. So for that, the other part is actually the runtime of the system. So let's talk about the creation. So we have the app designer that is going to generate so-called standard React UI code, which I explained earlier. So there's no lock-in to Kaizen. If you decide not to use Kaizen app designer in the future, you still have the code that runs, and you can still maintain it from there. And your workflow is also based on standard BPMN. Then the other part of the Kaizen is the runtime part, where some of that can be further classified into two areas. So one is one part of it is actually based on open source technologies. So those are non-proprietary, so you don't have to worry about locking. And the other part of it is there are some proprietary components that is developed by Kaizen. For example, your zero trust and all this. Some of these are actually built by our team. So for that, we actually have a no lock-in agreement. If you adopt Kaizen, we're going to have this no lock-in clause that allows you to have limited access to the source code at the point of exit, under exit condition. So with that, we actually guarantee you there's no lock-in to Kaizen, if you are, that is what you're concerned about. Yeah. Okay. Somebody just shows me time's up. Thank you.